boop, 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 boop. Bippity boop, 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 boop. Oh.
Do you just want to do the intro music that way? Like
Boop, 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 boop.
see? We don't need anybody to do it for us. You can just do
I
it.
don't know. Are we able to do intro stuff on this? Can we do
I'm sure
pre-roll?
we could. I'm
There's
sure we could.
probably ways. There's always ways.
Yes. Hi, folks. Welcome to How to
Hello.
Human.
Eh,
I'm Erika Miley. This is Brandon Rechdashel.
I
Thank you
am
for
Brandon.
joining us tonight. And I look funny because now I have a new setup, and so I'm looking up at a computer. Up at a camera, not a computer. It has been a long ass day.
You're
I've
back
had-
to your IPA.
There's no doubt. But so just for Brandon knows because I was already complaining in our chat that is lengthy most of the time during the week. I've been kind of absent because I've been in what's called SAR training. For those of you who are sex therapists or want to become sex therapists, you have to go through this sexual assessment to make sure that you can roll.
Roll.
So you can deal with the stuff that you're going to hear, and that's the thing I have heard for a very long time.
So do they start you up at the top of a hill and they just push?
You just roll down the road. Yep. So no, just lots of pornography, lots of checking our biases, which is it's very cool process. It was very, very fun. Shout out to Modern Sex Therapy Institutes and all of the people who did the SAR for us. It was a lot of fun, but all of us in the PhD cohort are very, very tired because we also had class. I had class all day. I have class all day tomorrow and Sunday.
Banging away all day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the best way to put
it. Banging away all day.
Watching, banging, watching images, talking about banging.
Really? I mean, they show
All the
you
time.
like here's 60 seconds and now let's talk about their problems, or what do they do?
More than 60 seconds. Usually it's like we're trying to not understand. We're trying to expose ourselves to different things that our clients might tell us so that we can keep whatever face we need to keep, right? Because we all have different things that we enjoy sexually. And so when somebody tells me something that I might consider shocking or they might consider shocking, that I can keep my face together as I whack the microphone, that I can keep my face together while I'm listening to that.
So is this where I tell you I have a disc that I'm going to have to digitize and send to you?
Yes, do that.
It was Howard Stern's most favorite.
Howard Stern's most favorite. I actually would say I don't think I know that. I don't think I know what Howard Stern's most favorite video was.
Water Butt Babes. So this is a director
Such a porn name. Wow,
yes,
such a porn name.
Director I've known for years, Joe
Mhm.
Gallant. Shout out goes to him. And he was coming up with something new, and he designed a bong that is inserted anally.
Interesting.
And so after the sex scene, they proceed to insert the bong and then smoke out of it.
Huh.
So, and then that, of course, leads to what always happens after an enema. So, I don't know if that shock your class.
I don't think so. We saw a lot of things. And there's actually a lot of us who are in our cohort who've worked with people in the community for a long time. So we've heard things and talked to people about things that that might make the average person out there who's not involved in those things their hair curl a little bit.
Suspension.
Oh yeah, we've definitely talked about suspension. We've talked about piercings. We've talked about all the
you
fun
talked about
sorts
the Cuomo.
Of. Oh yeah,
and we've talked about the Cuomo. He's got the barbells.
The Cuomo. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You've seen the pictures of him. He's got X-shaped barbells.
I have not seen the pictures of him.
Yeah, probably because
remember what I do all day. I don't go looking for these images because of what I
He
do all day.
forgot to wear an undershirt before one of his news conferences that his daughter was on with him, and lo and behold, Daddy's got X-shape thingamajigs going on.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
People let your hair down. I love it. We after doing after I'm just saying after doing I've done a lot of work with those who've committed sex offenses. So
okay, wow.
after I've the things that I've heard in my career, there's just not a lot anymore that have surprised me. We were talking because of course our PhD cohort has a Discord channel, and that Discord, that could be a coffee table book right there. That Discord chat.
Well, maybe it should be. You could take little quotes and you could have them individually on pages, but white background, black type.
Yes, we'll have Brandon curate our Discord.
And then he pulled out the wire whisk.
Just inappropriate gifts. That's all. That's all the entire chat is filled with. And suggestions for use of average items in your household that could be used for sex toys.
I've heard many things about hairbrushes, but that's really
champagne bottles.
Vanilla. Champagne bottles? I was out at the club one night. And there was this girl with a champagne bottle. And she was probably on a lot more than just whatever had been in the champagne bottle. But yikes.
So yeah. It's been a busy few days. Shout out to any of my PhD fellow folk out there who are as tired. We were all talking about, is 7 o'clock too early to be going to bed? And then I told them all that I had the show to do still tonight, and they were like, Brandon's going to carry the show.
Oh, please. They're not here right now? I mean, what is this? We've got people watching.
They're in bed. They're asleep.
Oh, come on.
I'll have them come. I'll have them all come at the same time because they're all in different time zones.
Are they working on their extracurricular class worksheets?
Snoring? Yeah, probably. We're just, when people who work in sex science are tired, they're boring.
Okay.
I need to go to bed and actually sleep, please.
Yeah, so Exotica is coming up.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, Exotica is...
You've been, right? I've never been.
Yeah, I've been twice. I've gone twice. I went this last year for all 3 days.
Tell people what it is, because those who have probably never heard of it, they need to know what Exotica is. We should probably see if we can bring the promoters on or something.
It's an adult conference with lots of toys, a dungeon, spanking, lots of spanking. I had no idea about electrical play until this last year, and I discovered many things about electrical play.
Say more.
Many things. Yeah. I mean, they hook batteries and hook things into the wall, and they will just zap you with all sorts of things. And it's that kind of low grade electrical feeling that's just a little uncomfortable, but not quite.
Yes.
They can hook up bats to it, and you can hold on to someone else and they do the touching.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes.
That would be a lot of fun. Yeah. Do they do any kind of screenings of erotica there? Am I remembering that incorrectly?
I don't think they have screenings. They don't really have screenings of erotica. They have some panel discussions and things, which are all right. You have a lot of people who are like, oh, we do home movies and we want to learn more about doing home movies. So my buddy James usually does a inside the industry talk about how to get into the industry, and he's like, don't do it. James Bartolet, who does inside the industry for Vivid Radio, and they're on SX, they're on Sirius Satellite as well.
Fantastic.
Inside the industry, great show. He's a cool guy. He also runs a PR firm, so a lot of his talent are usually there. There's a lot of girls there, very few male talent.
Yes,
Usually.
I feel like every year my Twitter feed is full of the images of from Exotica, right? That's what it's
Yeah.
called. Okay.
Yeah,
See, tired
Exotica with
brain.
3 X's. Yeah. Yeah, that's more consumer approachable, and they do like 3 or 4 of them. There's one in New Jersey, there's one in Miami, there's one in I think they closed the one in Denver down. They were doing one in Colorado. They do a couple of them. There's like one in Chicago.
Are they doing it in person, or are they going to be online this year?
I have no idea what's going on. No one knows anything about what's going on. Different industries are canceling things at different times. Broadway just said you can have your refunds up to September 6th now.
Wow.
Frozen's shutting down.
Wow.
So they don't expect any tourists to come into New York for a while.
So, I mean, how are you doing? I know they extended it through June, right? Middle of June for all of you.
He is, Cuomo is the master of double speak. It really, this is what he did today, and all of us New Yorkers were all just like, "Wait, what was that?" Because he extended it to May 28th. So he extended the pause, which is their acronym for something that just says pause because they wanted to say pause instead of absolute and utter collapse.
Fair.
Yeah. So they have
reframe of what's actually happening, I guess.
We're paused to November 28th.
Wow.
But the New York State stay-at-home order has been extended until June 13th.
Okay.
So what does any of this mean? Probably the same as what Eric Garcetti said in Los Angeles, which is good luck. We're not opening anytime soon. New York is already on just a little bit of this precipice. The landlords, the commercial landlords, only collected 70% of rental income last month.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, some of the research that I saw come out now. This is all so preliminary. Some of this research that's coming out is that by and large, the people who are most impacted are the people who are making roughly around $40,000 a year. Yeah. And I can only imagine how many service workers that includes, how many Uber workers that includes, how many, like, just the vast sheer number of human beings that includes.
To kind of put it into perspective, prior to 2008, the 2008, whatever you want to call it, recession, service workers in New York, if you were working the good shifts, you were clearing somewhere between 45,000 to 90,000 a year. Working at a restaurant. I'm not counting steakhouses, you'd be closer to the 90. If you're working at a regular restaurant with a strong lunch, like I was working at Doc's Oyster Bar, and you'd make maybe 200 a lunch. After the recession, lunch money went below 150, dinner money went below 250. And it has just continued to, as the years gone, progressively collapse. Now, to put that into how much it cost to live perspective, 2004, 2005, you could find a room for $500 a month. So you could get a 3-bedroom place with 2 friends for $1,500 a month. Good luck. 3-bedroom today, yeah, that's not happening. Now, however,
say, how much is a 3-bedroom today?
Now, however, I have a friend who's looking, because her divorce is not going so well, and she's looking to get a smaller place for just herself. And she was looking in the Village, and 1-bedrooms are down to $2,000 a month in the Village.
Oh,
which is down from probably $2,800 to $3,000.
Oof.
So they're there's a definitely residential rent is dropping. Who knows how far it'll drop, but that is definitely dropping. Commercial will probably just, it'll be kind of like people moving into lofts in Soho when people were moving into industrial spaces. I think that there are going to be people who are moving into in 10 years, maybe moving into condos that, well, this used to be the offices of Condé Nast. You know, like, you don't need offices, so they become condos.
Yeah. That's, I mean.
So yeah, to your point, basically the people getting hardest hit are the people who are making probably between 35 and 55,000 a year in this city.
And ultimately, like, I think it'll be really, really interesting. I mean, interesting is probably like there's lots of other words that I can use: sad, awful, terrible,
revolutionary, paradigm changing, paradox changing.
This is going to change our way of life.
Yeah. Right?
It has to.
Yeah, and the people who are ready to survive through it are at the point of like, well, we just have to accept it, because, you know, do you want to live in stress, and do you want to live with this foreboding feeling that, oh, you know, you're not going to have what you thought you were going to have? No, you're not, but you're going to have something else. Like, I've been able to look back now in the last 12 months of my life, and I had a lot of change. I had a crazy job up until like September. And I mean, I couldn't even imagine doing that job during this time. They have a fresh team there who's doing it, and I'm really glad they do, because this is, I think I would have jumped off a cliff if I had still been up there. But you know, every little piece, and change happens.
Yes.
Change happens. Change is just an absolute given. And in this situation, we're all being just forced, and none of us know where the road is going. You know, I think it's going to work out for some people. You know, it's always good to be some of the first people trying out something new. You know, telehealth is going to be a humongous new part of the way the world works going forward. And those people who can get on board and jump on board are going to be the people who have 20, 30, 40 people working for them.
Yes.
Versus the people who don't jump on board will be people like me with YouTube, where it's like, shoot, I mean, if I would have started a channel, if I would have done this, if I would have done that, you know, I was late to the game on a number of things. And I kind of like to know what's new so I can be early to the game for once.
I want to know what's next game. What's the next game?
Because like all the social media is turned into Ponzi schemes. You know, you cannot become an influencer on Instagram unless you literally pay for it now.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
Other influencers true of Facebook too. Make you an influencer. You are not just going to start an account. It's these magic things don't just, especially as a guy. Okay, now if you're a 15-year-old girl and you go up there and start posting pictures of, you know, whatever, it can happen. There's plenty of pervy dudes in the world. You're going to find 50,000 pervy dudes. It's a world of 8 billion people and 4 billion pervy dudes. I mean, find
the internet is for
porn.
Is for porn, and for us pervy people, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know, just so that you don't, you know, you're not alone. It's like, I like how the internet makes it so that you're not alone, no matter what it is.
No matter what you like, no matter what you're into, no matter what it like, and it can be the far stretches of your imagination, and more than likely, there's somebody else there with you.
Oh yeah. Oh,
that's the question I get all the time. Am I normal? Why, yes, you are.
Do you want to be normal? Sorry.
And what our definition of normal is really, really skewed.
If you knew what some of these normal people were really doing.
I mean, we already talked about Andrew Cuomo's piercing today. You've already
I
done
mean, and anyone who knows what nipple piercings generally indicate knows that there's something else there going on.
that. There's at least something fun. There's at least a story,
Uh,
right? There's at least
oh
a
yeah.
story.
I think there's a club or a regular meetup. I think there's a bowl, and I think there's some keys.
Probably. And it's probably glorious for all of them.
He's a single guy. I mean,
Why?
yeah.
Why not? Do what you like. Find somebody to consensually do that with.
Yeah. Or I mean, some people are into pretending and feigning non-consent. You know, there are some people who
But hey,
use your safe words.
Right? Use your safe words and the consensual non-consent. That's what we call it, CNC.
Mm-hmm.
That exists in the world, and there are lots of people who are into those kinds of things. So find somebody with your brand of thing you like and have a good old time.
I gotta tell you, this is definitely a specific type of Friday because I did my morning thing this morning and it was just me talking to air and your friends are all tuckered out.
I know. Right? Like we've usually got like
Hi.
10 to 15 people in here. So hi to the 3 of you watching tonight.
We had like almost 10 at one point who were watching. I'm fine with that, please.
Right. Of course. The number doesn't matter, but we'd love for you all to jump in the comments, be talking to us. We love the immediate feedback that we can get from these conversations. But how was your morning this morning? What did you all talk about this morning? I meant to ask you.
I've been keeping it brief. I've just been kind of checking in with people, and if people want to check in back, great. If not, then I get my day started. I've spent the last 2-3 days now doing camera testing. Went down, got my car, got a sunburn yesterday, and have been connecting a camera to a car and doing some fun shots.
You sent me some of the footage that you took, and it was really, really fun.
Yeah, it's some neat stuff, and I'm kind of back and forth. I could decide to keep the camera. I could decide to send it back. I still haven't decided yet. It all comes down to like if I'm going to think I can actually bring in the production value necessary to make it worthwhile. You know, if it's something that I'm going to use enough to bring in and make production value necessary, make it worthwhile, then like I have a drone. It doesn't go out all the time, but if I bring it out, it's going to bring in the production value necessary.
Right. Tools of the trade.
Oh,
and you do, especially right now, you have to just really think about like, okay, yes, can I bring in this fun lens, or can I bring in this fun tool, or can I bring in this fun, like with my office, I'm always thinking about like, oh, how can I up what I can do technologically or the podcast, right? And then you have to think about, okay, how much is this going to cost me over time?
Yeah. And if you get something that is professional, it generally lasts into the future. A couple of years ago, I shot a friend's wedding. I did some video for a friend's wedding. And then the next morning, I went into my bag to grab out some memory cards. I opened it up, and lo and behold, the lens had snapped.
Oh.
And we're talking about professional grade zoom lens, like the kind that you really need to have. And I wasn't too happy about that.
Oof.
And I talked to a friend of mine who was a photographer later that day, and she said, well, how much did you buy it for? And it's like, oh, I bought it for like $800, $900 used. I got it used. And she said, okay, well, how long did you have it? I was like, I had it for, about 8 years. She's like, okay, it cost you $100 a year. That's why I buy Macs, because no matter how expensive they are, when you go and do what that would cost you to rent.
Yes.
For as long as they last.
Buy a cheaper version. I have yet to have a Mac not last me at least 4 years.
Mine have all lasted 10-ish.
Which is
10-ish,
wonderful.
give or take a year or two. Yeah. And that's the important thing. Now I replaced that lens with metal lenses from then on out.
I'm sure.
It's like, I'm not dealing with this again. Not happening.
Never again.
But it really taught me to respect when things are made well. When clothing is made well. Yeah, those jeans, those raw salvage jeans might cost you $200 for a pair, but when they last just 6 years,
yes, I need
they
some clothing
still
that lasts me
cost
6 years.
less than H&M. They cost less than your fast fashion because they last longer.
Yes, exactly. We should move into our topic because you and I could just sit here and chat.
Are we
all
going?
night.
Okay, so were we going to blowjobs or were we going? What were we doing?
I think we were going to talk first about. I did put in the main topic your first time. We should talk a little bit. I do want to talk a little bit about blowjobs because my episode of Sex Talk was all about blowjobs, and I brought on this wonderful sex educator, sexpert, all around badass, Ashley Cobb. Ashley's Instagram is Sex with Ashley Cobb or Sex with Ashley. I'll get it right and I'll put it in the I'll put it in the comments because Ashley does wonderful like blowjob classes for anybody that wants to take one. She'll then do big workshops, but she also does like private groups, and she'll do them virtually. She does them now. And just we had so much fun during our conversation. I thought it would be a really good idea to talk about today because it just, I mean, to be honest with you, I think we have a sense of what blowjobs maybe look like in porn.
Oh.
Or what blowjobs are supposed to be.
Yeah.
Not what actually maybe your partner needs or wants. So, I mean, you don't have to talk about like your experiences with blowjobs. That is not my experience. That is not my expectations. But like maybe you are a penis haver.
When they're brilliant.
When they're brilliant. What's it like?
It's better than sex. When they're brilliant.
More. It's Sex with Ashley, by the way.
Oh.
Okay, got it. I got it right.
Yeah, when they're good, they're better than sex.
How so? Like, what would you say there are the elements that are better? Is it that I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be techniques, but it could be other things. Is the connection different? Like, describe what is different when you've had an excellent blowjob.
Oh, there's more sensation. There's a lot more sensation. And when you're with a partner who understands you, you're with someone who knows how to edge.
Yes.
And kind of feel where things are going and knows when to pull back a little bit. But it's
like
so
you just
rare.
said, the connection. The connection.
It's connection
changes things. And we're not talking about connection that couldn't be achieved like in a short period of time. If that makes sense. Like you don't have to be with somebody for very long to understand intimately what they would want.
Right. But when someone knows how to do it well, it doesn't require the connection.
Fair. And I'm saying connection in the sense of not necessarily connection equals a long-term relationship. I'm talking about connection that means that you've potentially, this is what I would like all of you to do, ask what your partner is looking for. Maybe even ask them how they masturbate, because that's going to then it's going to give you some really key information that can really change how you give a blowjob.
Right. But it really, and you touched on this a few moments ago, there's a lot of misconceptions about technique.
Yes.
And so really so I think, if I might, I'm not the sex therapist, in the experience side.
This is subjective, right?
Yeah, it's subjective. So there are similar to people who require anal stimulation, there is a subset of people who still are stuck in the oral phase. And so
who like oral really a whole lot.
who like to have something in their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And there is this subset of people that likes to have something in their mouth. And and then if that is combined with good technique, you have a rock star in the making.
Yes.
And a guy will stray.
Should have brought a toy.
As a good friend of mine once said, guy will stray to get a good blowjob.
Say more about that. I've got lots of my eyebrows are.
I know of a few instances where some celebrity couples have had their straying incidents because the guy wasn't getting a blowjob and was able to get it somewhere else. I will not name them, but I know of one or two.
I just hope that they went to therapy or something, because it doesn't have to go that way, and it doesn't have to.
They're celebrities. They need to be in therapy for many other reasons.
Fair.
Alone.
Fair.
But yeah, I mean,
that's all of us need to.
I in the non-scientific experimental, it's been maybe 1 in 7. It's slightly more common than partners who are stuck in the anal phase and need anal stimulation.
You're using lots of Freud words.
Yeah, well, it's how it seems to fit together for some reason. As one morning I woke up and I looked at her and I said, "What? I'm not even awake yet. It just makes me feel safe, honey." Okay. This is my complaining face.
I will not be sad. I want to say hi to Teresa. Teresa's
hi,
here.
Teresa.
Honestly, technique it absolutely is what your partner wants.
It's in the hand.
You have, and that's the other, I think, one of those misconceptions, that you need to absolutely use your mouth.
And
when you need to use all of the things that are available to you if that's something that you would like. And you are gesturing to what?
It's in the thumb.
Yes. And what is under the thumb? Do you know? Are you talking about that little spot right at the end of the head of the penis?
No.
Okay. Then what are you talking about? I wish I would have brought a toy. I should have brought a toy.
So it's in a kind of circular, but it's kind of, you dig the thumb in a little bit to get the,
okay, I see. Yeah. So you're saying pressure. Got it.
Yeah, there's pressure, but it's and you get that pressure from the thumb. You don't get that pressure from the grippy grip of the fingers.
Okay, fair. So a lot of times what I encourage people to understand is that we have very similar, as far as genitalia go, we have the same parts. They're just laid out differently.
Mm-hmm.
So we have similar number of nerve endings. They're just located in different spots. So when you're talking about a penis, many penises, the head of the penis is the most sensitive, especially right underneath the head of the penis. There is a spot called the frenulum.
It's your friend.
It is your friend. It is your friend. It is usually for many penis havers, it is very sensitive. Not all penis havers like their frenulum to be touched, but it is a very, very sensitive spot. So being familiar with how a penis actually operates is really, really helpful for your blowjob purposes. So when you know that many of the nerve endings are on the head of the penis and in the frenulum, and then maybe your partner gives you some other ideas that are maybe some parts of their testicles tend to be more sensitive than others. Maybe their perineum tends to be very sensitive. So asking your partner what on them is the most sensitive parts and how they like to be touched, because then you're gonna then, for goodness sake, then you'll get a roadmap. You're not just poking things or grabbing things without any
come on, guys, don't just poke.
Oh, the stories, Brandon, that I have heard.
And then he poked with his nose.
Teresa says, I'm always scared I'm going to apply too much pressure. I mean, this is a fair fear, right? Like you yourself cannot feel how your partner feels, so that you can't guess. So I think that like asking while you are moving and using pressure, right? We're going to have all of the hand motions. Can you imagine how this little image on YouTube is going to look? It's going to be great. It's going to be both Brandon and I doing this. It's going to be amazing.
It's slow motion.
Isn't it? Get this one. But being able to ask that partner, how does this feel? Do you like it when I? So that you really get a barometer, and then looking at their facial expressions will also help give you a barometer, as long as they're being truthful in their facial expressions, which not everyone is, because oftentimes people will make facial expressions that they've seen in porn because they think that that's what they're supposed to do.
Crustaceans. She's talking about a crustacean, a starfish. When my partner just lays there and doesn't reply, it's the worst thing to give.
Yes.
He's a starfish or she's a starfish.
It's always out on the bed. Starfishing.
With women, it's always been an age thing when I deal with the starfishing. It's always the younger ones who are starfishes.
Interesting. Yeah. Never putting on your show the sound off again. This must have been so fun with the sound.
It's great. It's great. I was almost into the real fun.
And then he's just shaking his head, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I hear the eyes rolling across the room. So, but like, I think many of you have probably had moments in your life where you were doing something because you thought it was what you were supposed to be doing, rather than asking your partner, hey, what is this like for you? Do you even like this? Or am I doing this for no reason? My husband and I have had this very conversation recently. We have had this conversation. I was doing something and I checked in with him. I was like, hey, I've been doing this thing. Do you like this thing? Like, I've been kind of going based off of your reaction. And he's like, to tell you the truth, I'm kind of indifferent about it. And I'm like, well, then I don't feel like I need to do that thing.
As the anal beads got pulled out. All right.
The noise.
Started doing this thing with a pencil. You've been doing a noise.
Still, like, I was thinking of the noise that anal beads probably, they make if you take them out too fast.
Like, if they're making a noise like that, you've got some stuff on the inside there you got to talk about. Like,
is that, or you
someone
just
might
really
have some
lube.
hemorrhoid cream they need to use. And like,
just use
if it's
good
like,
lube.
Oh, pulling out like that sounds like a machine gun going off.
So those of you who ask questions, you'll get to the bottom of what you need to get to. But also, those of you who are being asked, please tell.
Mm-hmm.
Teresa made a good point in the chat that people don't always respond even when you are asking and looking for direction. So your partner is not asking you these questions to solidify an expectation, but to actually truly get a roadmap. Like, where do you like to be touched? How do you like to be touched? How fast do you like to be touched? Do you like heat? Do you like cold? What do you like sex toys? Do you not like sex toys? Do you like latex? Are you allergic to latex? Like, these are conversations that when negotiations we need to be having beforehand.
Latex.
There's great polyurethane condoms that don't cause the same problems.
Memories.
So we've said a lot about blowjobs, but so go check out Sex with Ashley's IG.
And stop deep throating. For God's sakes, people, stop deep throating.
You don't have to do that. You just don't. You do not have to. There is no obligation to deep throat. If you like to deep throat, Okay, ask your partner. Make sure that they like you deep throating them, because that's also a thing. There is sometimes an assumption of penis havers that penis havers always want deep throat, or that they always like certain things. That's not true. Every penis is a little different. The nerve endings are a little different. So you got to ask your penis haver what they want.
What you doing? There's nothing back there to bump into. Nothing to create friction except for the hard palate. Ow. And the uvula. Ugh.
Yeah, that also might.
It doesn't work. I mean, it's like, oh, look, I can deep throat. That's wonderful. Okay, can we get on to something with some sensation?
And I think oftentimes people, when they're watching porn videos, they'll watch them quickly and they'll kind of like fast forward to their favorite part, right? But oftentimes they'll see oral sex a very specific kind of formulaic way in porn. Not all porn, but a lot of porn has a very kind of formulaic way of approaching many sexual interactions. But what they don't often know is that the people making that video, they have to do a lot of work to even do any of it. Just so you're aware. Yeah. When it's called sex work, it's sex work. Yes, it's work. But also that they are doing certain things for certain angles of the camera. And on top of that, they're trying to hit the widest audience that they can possibly hit. That includes certain kinds of maybe some people do want to see somebody come on somebody's face, or they do want to see deep throating. So they'll try to put in these elements to get a broader audience of something that's not necessarily needed for your sexual menu.
Like dialogue. Stop talking.
Why do they do that? We don't need it.
It's when I was doing my interviews with the talent on Just for Fans, that discussion came up, and it's a total thing for in studio porn. They all, hello, Naz.
Dr. Nazanin Moali is with us, folks. Also the host of my sister podcast, Sexology with Dr. Moali. Please, Naz, whenever you want, shout from the rooftops. Throw fun things in there. We're talking blowjobs when we're talking about getting tips from your partner. So, and also if you need another wonderful podcast to listen to, go jump on there and listen to Naz's show.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I has anybody asked you what you wanted, Brandon? Like, has anybody so you now, of course, you need to speak for all penis havers.
No, never. And usually we just get down to business in one form or another. I mean, there is a fine line, and I think the communication bent is very important when you're in a long-term relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a fine line between, how do you want this when it's a 1 night or 5 night affair? It's in those instances is kind of sweat, little, hopefully no blood, but mostly sweat and sex. Yeah, I had the weirdest. Oh God, I've had some of the weirdest. Oh, it's terrible. It would have been better if she had been a starfish. Anyways, it was just... And then she made it into this racial thing, and she was like, well, you've just never been with an Asian girl. You don't understand. And I'm like, I wouldn't say that, considering I've done about 100 sex scenes with Michelle Maylene. I mean, come on. Oh, what? Filipinos, not Asian? Oh, okay. You're one of those. Got it. But it's just like, it was bad. Please, can I come through? Please, can I come through? No, don't drop that on people. What exactly? Are you saying?
Negotiation is necessary. It's necessary.
No, that's not about negotiation. That was dropping onto someone that you're into a little bit of
That was a sexual anvil on your head.
You want to be a sub, and you want someone to be a dom, but that right there is,
you don't
talk
spring dom dynamic on somebody.
By the way, I might call you daddy. Oh, great. I'm fine with that. Just don't call me uncle.
I like how you're making a distinction between.
Well, someone could be triggered by being called uncle,
I mean, fair.
Someone could get off in calling you Uncle Fester. I don't know.
I mean, we see full circle. All types of porn for all types. You never know. There has got to be Addams Family fanfic. There is.
I've seen the Simpsons stuff.
Oh, I can't. I don't know what it is for me.
Lisa grows up.
I can't do it. I've had clients in the past who are super into some of the animated stuff, but some of the animated stuff I grew up with, I can't. For me, it's hard for me to like sexualize. Like I've looked at lots and lots of sexual material. Like when I see animated stuff that I grew up with, I'm like, no, I can't. For me, that's my kid brain. I can't.
We had a animation we used to screen periodically called Chirpy, and Chirpy is having sex with a horse, and while it's going on, Chirpy is a animated bird.
Oh dear!
Put it in my egg hole. Put it in my egg hole.
Who said? And it killed Brandon.
This is a really disturbed animator. This is a really disturbed animator. Yeah.
Brandon died. Did you see all that?
Oh,
it's right there on screen.
It was classic. There was an extended version too.
Of course there was. Of course there was.
Yeah, fuck me. Put it in my bird hole. Put it in my egg hole. Put it in my egg hole.
The things that but honestly, like I can't tell you how many times people have sent me things that I'm just like, what am I looking at? I don't even know.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, we should talk about the big topic of tonight. We're going to talk about first times. We're going to talk about your sexual debut. I intentionally did not say virginity. Do you want to know why, or do you realize that you don't have any option to not know why?
Why we're not talking about virginity,
or why we're not referring to it as virginity?
Virginity is a construct of the male patriarchy. No.
I like how you pulled out your NPR voice for that. You totally pulled out the NPR voice for that.
Sweaty balls. Sweaty balls in Plymouth, Minnesota. And after Sweaty Balls, we'll be talking about virginity and how it's a male construct created by the patriarchy to put women down and to control property back in the mid to medieval dark ages of womankind.
I love that
we're going to have an interview with Paul
It's
Simon.
salty balls, isn't it?
Sweaty balls.
Sweaties? No, sweaty. No, there's like all the brands of the different kinds of balls.
It was funny.
Oh, that bit. Oh, even now, I'll go and YouTube that shit just to laugh my ass off. It just makes me so happy.
So much of that era in pop culture, I am able to pull out like, I'll take anal bum cover for $500, Alec. Like the Sean Connery on, how was it? It was
Jeopardy.
Yeah. Oh,
Sean Connery on Jeopardy.
Stewart, I'm friends with French Stewart's wife now, and I used to do the impression of him from Saturday Night Live, and I was like, "I'm a late bloomer, Alex. In the last round, I'm gonna bloom."
Those skits are still some of my all-time favorites. Like,
and I used to do George Bush. George Bush used to be one of my big ones. I loved it. It was there's many good docs out of work in this country, many OBGYNs who can't practice their love with women across America.
And oh my gosh, that some of the those comedians had that was their
bread and butter.
Bread and butter, and it was just so good.
Yeah.
Dana Carvey as George Bush Sr. Still some of my favorite skits on that show.
So first time or debut,
Yeah, sexual debut. So that's what we're all a sex educator, sex therapists, clinical sexologists are trying to encourage people to refer to it as, because really, like the idea of virginity is something that we've socially created and ultimately doesn't fit our social norms anymore.
And here I'm surprised you're not calling it fetishize.
I mean, there's a historical context of virginity that is lengthy. So if anybody who is super, super interested in any of that, one of my favorite videos of how the explanation of the hymen exists is from Adam Ruins Everything. I will drop that in the chat. And essentially, the idea of virginity has come from many historical years of women being used as property. Like, did you see the series Harlots on Hulu, Brandon?
No.
It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. It's also incredibly sad, but it is. Liv Tyler is in it. There are quite a few people in that show, and of course, I'm too tired to remember them all. But it is on Hulu. Hopefully, still on Hulu. But it actually shows some of the business of virginity, and actually some of these women who were at the time labeled as prostitutes were like the ones who kind of epitomized what virginity was. They would go for a higher price, and they show this in the show. They show how entirely it would work, and I just think they did a really good job on the show, kind of illustrating exactly how that would go down. So the idea of a sexual debut sounds much more like a party than somebody being sold off. So do you want to talk about your I might surprise people.
I was late. I was late.
I was too.
I was
twins.
21.
I was 23.
Yeah, I was 21, and I had a dance partner who took pity on me.
Took pity? Okay, say more. Come on now.
I mean, I was a recovering fundamental Christian, so
same.
I was recovering and had taken some psych and sociology classes through college, and came to the conclusion that you can't actually be an actor if you hold on to some of those things. You can't be
like some of those things, like the kind of evangelical Christian things, or just some of the values themselves. What are you talking about?
I don't think a vegan can be an actor.
Oh, okay. Say more.
I think if you are shutting off life experiences, you're not able to fully live in the life of your characters.
Interesting. Okay. Or so, like if you refuse to, like if you refuse to do what the character calls for, is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, if you refuse to do what the character's called for,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
You know, you're never going to really get there. And yes, there is a lot, 99% pretend, but you need a seed of honesty in everything. You need a seed of honesty. And so I came to the conclusion that it was time, and one of my dance partners, she's great. She eventually left the art world, and I think she's doing maritime archaeology now or something like that.
She's doing what?
Yeah, she in North Carolina. I love her.
Maritime archaeology. So like digging up airplanes, or the history of airplanes,
digging up Blackbeard's ship.
Fascinating.
Yeah. That's North Carolina.
That's cool.
That's Eastern North Carolina.
That's some nerd shit I'd watch.
They're all about Blackbeard, digging up Blackbeard's ship and everything else because it's off the coast. Yeah. But she took pity on me, and I was like, all right, so how do we do this? And first time was, it's not either of our faults. It just didn't work. We tried for hours. Just too much Christian stuff all stuck in the brain still.
Oh, yes. I think that this is actually a combination. I think you and I, we share this. So my first time was with the man I'm now married to. We had sex before we got married. But still him, because I had a lot of that same shame stuff still wrapped up in those Christian beliefs. You're supposed to wait until you get married, and we might get some hate mail to say that we don't that neither one of us ascribe to that belief any longer. I don't want to say that for you, but for me, I don't believe that you have to wait until you get married anymore. I don't believe that. Even though I've retained elements of my faith, I don't believe that's part that is necessary for sexuality.
Whenever is right for you is right for you.
That's right.
Whenever that is within the laws of the land.
Yes.
And reason. So, it's a funny country on some of these things.
That is something that's interesting to talk about on its own, and we could do an entire show about sex laws across the country. I think we should.
Sex laws, age
that
of
would
consent,
be fun.
The whole thing.
Oh, it'd be so fun. Yes, so we'll put a pin in that for sure, because I think that would be really interesting to talk about together, because there are people who are teenagers who are of the same age who are in a what would be considered a relationship that they've decided on together, and other people have gotten them in trouble for sending naked pictures to each other.
That's
fucked up.
It is
a fucked up.
Slippery slope.
Yeah.
It is a slippery slope because the laws across the country are so different in every different state, and I will screw it up to all high heavens, but I think Virginia was a Romeo and Juliet law that
honestly,
it's a weird Romeo and Juliet.
We all need to look them up.
16, 19 to 17, and then 18 to 18. And North Carolina was its own thing. And the problem is, if they roll back the dissemination or distribution of certain types of material, that would then have to be rolled back for all dissemination of that type of material to that age group. So similar to having an age of consent, they can make an amendment to a law. But the problem is they've put away so many people based on funky interpretations of how that stuff is disseminated.
We're going to do a whole show on this because we need to have our laws right. And
we do. And they need to be like straight across the board. They need to be straight across the board. We're going to make it. We should make an Excel spreadsheet. I think those are the history bookmarks they look for on your computer. Consent laws. I mean, I have actually, this is actually information I have a lot of because of the work I did. Because I've worked with those who've committed sex offenses. So it's actually something I'm really familiar with. And I'm also familiar with how really, really screwed up some of these laws are, and do not make room for teenagers who are starting their sexual journeys, many of them together, of consenting age. And we, especially in the United States, we have a really, really, really hard time with the idea of anybody under the age of 18 having sex. And when in reality, many, many people have their sexual debut between the ages of anywhere as young as 10 to 17. 10 is really young. It's much more on the outlier side, but that age group is when we're having our first sexual experiences. Yeah. And more often now, with people generally hitting puberty, 2-3 years earlier than they did when we were children. Yeah, roughly 9 to 10 years old is those first beginning years. 9, 10, that's like 3rd, 4th grade. Yes, 3rd, 4th grade. I mean, we didn't, and boys notice. I mean, the first girl in our class didn't start looking like she was changing into anything until we were like in 5th grade. Yeah, I mean, we were all kids.
That was I think probably, I mean, we're still trying to understand as especially in the US why this is happening. There's lots of theories. There's theories that it's, hormonally based things in our foods. But it's difficult to point to that because it's difficult to quantify it.
But I mean, we have an epidemic of people who are overweight.
Mm-hmm.
When people are overweight, their bodies create hormones differently. If your
Mm-hmm.
body is at a certain weight, your body thinks it's an adult.
Mm-hmm. At a
And
certain point, yes.
your body will start doing things that an adult body does.
Yes, there's that. And then there's also the family history.
Yeah.
The family history of not only just maybe however the body's changing with weight or weight distribution, but also biologically the pattern of which many, many people in that family may or may not have started their first signs of puberty. Whatever they are, it may not be any kind of like menses. It may not even be semen production. It might be things like hair. It might be things like the voice changing, what have you. Like many of us go through different parts of puberty at different times. But that being said, like there are a lot of myths around our first times. I think that like the biggest one that I hear a lot from my folks is that it's supposed to hurt, that your first time is supposed to hurt.
Nah.
It does not have
Doesn't
to.
have to.
It does not have to.
But it will if you're scared of your body.
If you're scared of your body, I mean, think about how many adolescents are. Or if you have no idea how the body works, or you think that the hymen is this covering that goes over the entrance to the vagina, like then yeah, you might think that you're supposed to bleed. And of course, culturally, like that was definitely reinforced over the centuries that you're supposed to bleed. When in some people, there are people in this world who are born without hymens. So we just need to be able to learn how to talk about pleasure as well as learn about what does sex actually mean for us as we develop and change. And I mean, when you ask somebody about their first time, you also hear about all of the shame that they have been educated with around sex. So we could be here all day.
Probably.
And I like how the comments got really, really, really quiet.
Really quiet.
Yep. People are not wanting to advertise their first times. And that's all right. They don't have to. There's no obligation here.
Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of experimentation and then it clearly wasn't going to work. And then she promptly told me, well, we'll probably do it again. But, if I want to bring a girl by, because by the way, I'm bisexual. And I was like, here I am, 21. I'm like, jackpot, geez.
You're like, I only heard about these things.
I mean, and it's, for both men and women, depending on your emotional state, things just don't work.
Yes.
A guy who's under stress will not maintain an erection. A woman will not properly lubricate who's under duress.
Struggle with erectile tissue too.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Because we all have it. Again, same parts, just different configurations. And that erectile tissue is absolutely influenced by stress.
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So like any of you who may be journeying on your first time or have shame around your first time, y'all, you're not alone. This, especially in US culture, there is a lot of screwed up messages about what your first time is supposed to be about. And Brandon and I are here to tell you that it does and can get a lot better.
It's going to be candles and he's going to be wearing armor and he's going to have a shield and he's going to lay me down softly on a bed of petals.
With that handy little hand motion. Lay them down.
Yeah.
This episode's all about the hand motion. That's what it's about.
Yeah, right. And Brandon itching his face, and he should be paying attention to not do that. And I really need to use some like
Because you got sunburned.
beard.
Look at you.
Well, it's actually like my baby beard is like, you need to moisturize me, otherwise I'm going to be itchy. So yes, I did get sun. I went out, threw my top down, and drove for like an hour yesterday. 2 hours probably.
I can't blame you.
It was good. It was necessary. But second time was good. I mean, we met on Hot or Not. She was
Like
Orthodox
the
Jewish.
site Hot or Not?
Yeah. So I had moved
Okay.
I moved
You
to
just changed this whole game.
Yeah. So I moved to New York like, I mean, what? Okay. So my first time was near my, oh, you know what? Ooh. Okay. Yeah. That was my 21st. Yeah. So it was right around my 21st birthday. Near in that summer, I'm thinking. And then I only had a semester left of school. So did my senior semester, moved straight to New York. And so about a year later, I was on like Hot or Not and met this lovely woman who I'm still friends with. She's had 2 husbands since. Her second one is amazing. I love him. And she's got 3 lovely children now. It's amazing. We met on Hot or Not. And she was Orthodox Jewish at the time. And we all met over at this club called Limelight, which is, I think they had just renamed it Limelight. It was Avalon for a while. Limelight was the big club that all the club kids used to hang out at in the 90s.
Okay.
So like Party Monster, Macaulay Culkin's character.
That's why I was like, why is
this
name sounding familiar? Now I know why. Yes.
So we
Party Monster
hung out at Limelight, and at the end of the night, we were with her friends, and she was like, oh, I guess this is, I was like, well, you want to come home to Jersey City? So we took the PATH train back to Jersey City. we saw each other for like a couple of months from there. We've stayed friends for years.
That's cool.
Yeah, much better. That'll be my debut.
Yes, but also like really, like that tells us so much about like the level of intimacy that then you've been able to maintain and how it's grown and changed over time. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, and I mean I prefer to be friends with partners afterwards. I'd rather not have situations where you've got people who hate each other. I'm sure there's a couple of those. Actually, I can think of 1 or 2, but there was a girl.
I saw them go across the face.
There was a girl I dated in between who was crazy and reminded me how crazy 18-year-old girls are when you're 21, 22 dating them. Yeah. But it was Valentine's Day. You were supposed to read my mind and come to all the way out to Hempstead and find me. I was going to give myself to you. Well, why didn't you say that? I told you, I brought nice wine. I brought nice stuff, the week before. I told you I was working Valentine's. I was going to make 3 times as much money at the restaurant.
That's right. Honestly, the 90s and the early 20s, they're so filled with like this expectation of what it's supposed to be like, right?
And you know how hard it was to trade text messages with that girl? Because this was at the time it was like 11111 2222222 E.
You didn't have the sidekick yet? You didn't have that?
Oh, this was like 2005. I don't think Sidekick was out yet.
There was a couple of Blackberries would have been the thing. That's what would have been the thing.
Yeah, this was like,
because Blackberries were a thing for a long time.
Yeah, but I wasn't that bougie, okay? I wasn't that bougie. The only people in New York who had pin messenger and everything were bougie.
Or they were from DC, right? Like,
oh no, it was all these oh gosh. One of the Rachels in my life. I've had so many Rachels in my life. And she was going to Spence, one of these girls' prep schools up here, and all of her friends had to be like the prototype for Gossip Girl.
Oh,
they were just crazy. And they all had their little BlackBerry Messenger things.
What was the other thing? So Blackberries. What else was popular? Sidekick was a little later.
Sidekick was right around the same time as the BlackBerry Pearl, which was the first kind of consumery BlackBerry
version. Yeah.
It wasn't like so chunky and big. Back then, because we wanted smaller phones. Unlike today.
Yeah. The giant, I can't do the giant phone. I can't do it. I have to keep the smaller version. I have to. I can't.
I have giant phone.
That's what my husband has. He has the giant phone, and I can't. There's too much happening.
Well, I'm a guy. We have big pockets in our pants.
See, that's the bullshit right there. That's the bullshit. You want to see me get heated? Talk about how there's not access to pockets in women's clothing.
I mean, there isn't access to women's. There isn't.
Fucking bullshit.
But in the new world, you'll just be able to contact the designer, and they'll make pants with big pockets for you.
This dress I purchased because it had pockets and print.
Because there's not going to be any retailers left to buy mass-produced clothing from.
And full circle back to our conversations about COVID.
Yeah.
Can't.
Oh, that is going to be the hugest revolution. I have a lot of friends in the fashion industry, and one of them has been passing on this document called rewiringfashion.org.
Interesting.
And they're talking about how they want to change the calendar, and the fashion shows should be before delivery, right before delivery to the stores, so that the stores can't knock them off. And they should remove the discount calendar. No more Cyber Monday discounts, no more Black Friday discounts, no more discounts, period. And these are all there. We want this, and we shouldn't have to do a show if we don't want to. We shouldn't be penalized for that. And it's this great big document, and every single one of the points is dependent on there being a retailer to buy.
Fair.
And very soon there may not be. I think JCPenney's went today.
What?
I think JCPenney.
I have been in class all day. I did not hear this.
Yeah, the day started with the rumor that they were going to declare bankruptcy today.
Hold on, JCPenney.
Yeah. Jacques Penoir.
Bankruptcy. Okay, thank goodness for Google. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Files bankruptcy amid coronavirus pandemic.
There goes Jacques Penoir. There goes Neiman Marcus. Story is they want to merge Neiman Marcus and Saks possibly, but it's just the model doesn't work anymore. The model doesn't work anymore. And how's like Macy's in Manhattan going to work? You think the locals shop at Macy's?
Oh, I can't imagine. I can't imagine they do.
There's no way they can support a store that size. They'll have to sell it off to Amazon, and Amazon will use it as a warehouse.
Yes, or we'll start saying Macy's as featured by Amazon or something like that.
Oh, I think the days of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade are numbered.
All of these institutions, right?
Yeah, institutions,
like cultural traditions.
Yeah.
Everything is going to be different, and it has to be.
Oh, yeah. It has to be to a certain extent, but also, it's like I had friends who were posting stuff on their boards the other day about the response, the response and lockdown and this and that. And I was like, no, wouldn't it have been interesting if 30 years ago they would have done this for the AIDS crisis? Right? And you realize that if they can put a vaccine together for this, there really is nothing preventing them from putting a vaccine together for AIDS. There should be absolutely no reason, and I don't believe a single person will ever believe that they can't figure it out going forward if they manage to come up with an effective vaccine. If. We'll see.
Yes. We will absolutely see. All right, folks.
Thank you for joining Teresa and Naz.
Naz was here. Anthony was here. We had quite a few. So if you feel comfortable, feel free to drop your you can drop your age of your first time. I think Teresa dropped age. Yeah. Whatever you're comfortable with folks, we'll take it, and we'll keep the comments alive. But we're here every Friday. How to Human.
Yeah.
Be ready. You never know who we're going to get to show up on the show.
And one of these days, I'm going to get a monitor next to my thing here so that I don't look like I'm doing side eye the whole time.
Yeah, now that I've got this extra wide screen thing, like it's like very different. Like I'm much like, oh, I'm not looking over here. It's very weird. So, all right, folks, have a good evening. We will see y'all next time.
Bye-bye.